Hey, Phil Morse here. Thanks for tuning into this video. I'm standing by one of the 6, count them, immense speaker stacks here in the main room at London's Ministry of Sound, where all the world's biggest DJs have played. In just a couple of hours time, this place is going to be jumping. You wouldn't even be able to hear a word I'm saying, even if I tried. So, you know, to play somewhere like this takes so many years of hard work and not a small amount of luck. We get that. You know, most of us are never going to get to tour the world being a superstar DJ. But as we learned in videos 1 and 2 of this course, us mere mortals can get a lot of pleasure from our DJing and make a lot of progress really quickly if we're shown the right way to approach things like our gear, our music and our mixing. If you haven't already seen those videos, by the way, they're absolutely vital pieces of the course. Please go and watch them now. But here's the really interesting thing. The way successful DJs actually build on all of that stuff to turn their passion and skill into a DJing career that gets places, gets them where they want to be, well, that can also be taught. Everyone who's ever played here was once in your shoes, ready for the next step and just trying to work out how to take it. If I could show you exactly what you need to do to get to whatever level you're aiming at, is that something you'd be willing to commit to? Well, if the answer to that's yes, then come with me back to the Digital DJ Tips headquarters and let's get started on today's lesson. So before we move on to today's next level training, I just want to thank everyone who's responded to the last couple of videos. You know, we've had over 1,500 comments and likes on those videos. It's unprecedented even for us, and it's been so much fun responding to you guys. One thing that came out of the last video when we were talking about collecting music when you're out and about was using the camera on your smartphone. So thanks to Ed and the other people who mentioned this. You know, I realized that I do this as well. Taking a photo of the RDS scrolling past on your car radio, or pausing a DVD when you're watching a film at a mate's house at the end to take a picture of the credits, just to quickly capture the titles of tunes is a great idea. And then when it comes to your weekly tune analysis, you know, they're all there on your phone. So good one, thanks guys. So in today's video, we're going to move on to talking about 7 big actionable points that you can use to take your passion for DJing and turn it into something which is closer to where you want to be. So the problem, if you're lucky enough to have a pro DJ friend or a resident in the local club or someone who's already doing that web radio show that you're aiming at, the problem if you're lucky enough to talk to these people is that they're going to make 2 mistakes unwittingly. The first thing they're going to do is tell you to do it the way they've done it, on the gear they've done, following the route they followed, which is understandable. It worked for them. They're trying to help you. But the second thing they're going to do is give you big broad stroke ideas, you know, play to the crowd, play a really good mix of music. And while those 2 things are great and it's good advice, what can you do with that advice? You know, it's not specific enough. So what I want to do in this video is take my teaching experience and take the questions that tens of thousands of you guys have asked me over all the years that I've been running Digital DJ Tips and teaching this stuff, and give you 7 big actionable points. These are the things you can go away and do now to take you to the next level. Now, there's a lot of information in this video, and these videos are not going to be here forever. But don't worry, I'm not expecting you to write all this down or continually press the pause button, because underneath this video, I've put it all into a PDF as well that you can download, keep on your computer forever, and refer back to when you're doing this stuff. So to take your DJing to the next level, mastering 1 or 2 modern tricks is a great idea. And the reason I say 1 or 2 and not all of them is that you can get paralyzed by everything that's on offer. So I've picked 2 of the really big ones that you'll hear DJs using all the time. And I've picked them for a reason. Not only are they the 2 that I use all the time, but they're the 2 that you're going to see on your DJ gear and in DJ booths everywhere you go. So let's start with looping. So looping is where you take a section of a tune and make it play over and over again. You saw that in video number 2. If I start a tune playing here, I can loop 8 beats of it, and they'll just keep going round and round. So that gives me the chance to mix over the top of that, knowing that's not going to change. Or if that's a useful vocal that I really liked, it gives me the chance to use that vocal over and over again. You know, when you see DJs with 3 and 4 decks, they're not using 4 decks to DJ all the time. They're quite often using the 3rd and 4th deck just to have a useful loop going on there. Now looping is possible in DJ booths when you're using CDJs with the loop in and out buttons, and you have to just time your loop quite carefully, hit in at the right moment and out at the right moment. It's actually even easier on digital DJing gear like this Traktor Control S4 here, because it has a number of beats. The software's analysed your song and it knows how many beats there are and the BPM, so it'll do that for you. Just set a number of beats and hit loop. It's really simple. Looping's a great one. The second one I want to talk to you about is filters. Now, a filter is just like an EQ. It's just like using those EQ knobs, but it's more musical, and it's probably best, again, if I just play you the tune and show you what it sounds like. Most filters are on one knob, and it's got a center point, which is nothing happening. And when you turn it to the left, it's a low pass filter, letting the low frequencies through. You'll immediately recognize the effect if you haven't heard filters described to you before. And the other direction is high pass. So think of it as a musical EQ. Now the reason that I'm telling you to master filters is that they're on pretty much everything. They're on your DJ software. Even if there isn't a knob on your DJ controller, there will be one on the screen. Just grab it with your trackpad and your pointer and move the knob on screen. But also in DJ booths, you will find filters. This is a Pioneer mixer that you'll see pretty much standard. They're on these big knobs here underneath each channel, and you select filter on the left. But also little DJ mixers that you might choose to use in your home, just as this Allen & Heath is a great example, because Allen & Heath have wonderful filters. This whole section down the middle is the filter on an Allen & Heath mixer. And that's not a particularly expensive model either. You'll see these everywhere, which is why they're so much fun to master, because once you've mastered it, all kinds of gear, filters are there for you. But not only that, they're really common. Producers use them all the time. Let's go back to this track that I was playing you then, and listen to the vocal on this break, and listen to the way the filter vocal comes in. So you heard how that vocal was filtered in with a low pass filter, taking all the high frequencies out, and you can accentuate that. If you've got tunes that have got sections that are filtered, you can do the same thing over the top of what the producer always did. A lot of DJing is about accentuating what's already there. Let's do it. This is the break of the tune. And I'm just copying what the producer did. When the beat comes in, I'm back to 0. So that's loops and filters. Whichever you choose, pick a couple of things and practice them on all your tunes and start incorporating it into your mixing. It's a really easy way of lifting it to the next level. Of course, I'm not referring to the Avicii tune of the same name. What I'm talking about is volume levels. Now, there's two things that pro DJs know about volume levels that you need to be aware of. The first thing is, to get the overall volume up or down, you start nearest to the speakers. So in this practice studio, we're going to start here by turning the volume up or down on the back of our speakers. The next place you look to turn the volume up or down is the master output from your mixer or your controller. And only then do we move back to the individual channel volumes. So that way you're never going to damage anything, including other people's ears or your equipment. So that's the first thing. The second thing is knowing which tune is dominating the mix. Now think about it, as DJs, what we're generally doing is moving from one track to the next track. That's our job. So at some point between these two tracks, we're going to say to ourselves, which one's dominating? Which one can the audience hear the most? And it's up to us to choose the point. You know, mixing and hoping is not good enough. Good DJs choose the point where that switch is made in the audience's ears. And the biggest way of doing that is by switching bass lines. When you see DJs going like this in the middle of a mix, what they're really doing is turning one bass line off and the other bass line on. One kick drum down and the other kick drum up. And that is the easiest way to switch the attention from one track to another in the audience's mind, so you can then slowly take the outgoing track out. And that's really all you need to practice when it comes to volumes. Do this stuff and ask yourself that question every time you do a mix. Which track's dominating and when do I want it to switch? And you'll be doing what pro DJs do without thinking about it in DJ booths all over the place. So this one's specifically about when you're playing live gigs. It's so important to entertain as well as to educate, as well as to show people your passion for music. Entertainment and performance really is key when you're playing live. Remember, the people out there on the dance floor have probably had a really boring, tedious week full of worries and full of stuff that they want to forget. Help them to forget it. Give them something else to think about. Give them a good time. It's not a dirty word to perform in front of your audience. So how do we do this? How do we actually perform as DJs? Well, I'm not talking about throwing cakes or crowd surfing, although, if that's your thing, I don't think it'd ever work. What I'm talking about is using the tools at your disposal, using the volume controls, taking the level in the room slowly down for half an hour and throwing it in again. Switching genre, just completely switching genre, just for effect. Some of those times are the most memorable. What you want people to do is remember you long after the gig's finished, and that's not going to happen if you perform boring beat mix after boring beat mix after boring beat mix, and there's no variety, and there's no colour, and there's no contrast. Be a performer. It's also about your body language. You've probably noticed I'm not stood still here like this saying, you need to do that, you need to do that. I'm using my arms, my shoulders are down. I'm trying to get across how much I love this subject. And you should do the same thing in your DJing, even if you're not feeling it. Now, we all get nervous when we DJ. So if you're nervous and you're all tightly strung and you just want it to happen, you want it to start happening, and you want to get in the zone, allow yourself to relax, try and move, try and do stuff against your instinct, and you'll find out very, very quickly you start feeling what you're doing. You're leading the party. You're the guy in charge. It's about control, not perfection. Once you put the perfection idea out the window and say, look, I'm in control, I'll take a few risks, some of them will work, some of them won't. Once you get into that mindset, then you're doing what pro DJs do. Then you're doing the stuff that people remember and you get booked again for and you get paid for. Did you make a mixtape this week? How about in the last month? Have you even made a mixtape in the last year? Well, if you haven't, you really need to put this right immediately. Making mixtapes is the single best way to improve as a DJ. Why? Because it's the only way you can hear what you do on those decks or on that controller in the same way that everyone else who isn't you hears it. Think about that one for a bit. If you want to put yourself in the ears of your audience, the only way to do it is to record what you're doing and listen back to it. It's so important. Not only that, in the last video we talked about, in the last point, we talked about how performing is about more than just the music. It's about microphone and throwing your arms in the air and altering the volume and changing genre and using silence. You can't do any of those things on a mixtape. It's just you and that record button. So it's a bit scary, but it really does lay it all bare. It's your chance to show off. So mixtapes are important. How do we do them? Well, the first thing is practice, practice, practice. And actually, this is another great reason for doing them, because it's a good motivator. I'm a marathon runner, and if I don't have a marathon in my diary, I can't go out on a wet Tuesday night and do my runs anywhere near as easily. The motivation's just not there. The mental stuff's gone because there's no point. If you know you've got a mixtape to do, it motivates you to practice your DJing. So practice like hell. And the reason, of course, that we're practicing is that we want to get that mixtape perfect and use all the tools you've got to make it perfect. Write down every tune. Detail where the mix points are and what you're doing with the EQs and stuff. Do whatever you have to plan that mix out and practice it so that you can pretty much perform it without thinking about it before you hit record. This is very, very different to playing live, of course, because when we're playing live, we're doing all that performance stuff. We might have a plan, but we're hoping that the night's going to just take off and we'll be changing and doing a bit of this and a bit of that and not sticking to our plan. And with a mixtape, very, very different. Stick to your plan. So get the mixtape right, practice will help you to do that. Once you've done it, put it somewhere safe. You don't want to lose your favorite mix. You don't want to just lose a hard disk or whatever. So upload it somewhere that you trust. I like Mixcloud because it's free and it's legal, but you choose what you want, but keep it somewhere safe so you can listen to it in 10 years time and see just how far you've progressed. It is the best way of progressing. So if you're not making mixtape, give yourself a slap on the wrist and go and start planning one right now. So if you ever hang around in second-hand record shops, you may well find dance vinyl with strange stuff scribbled on it like this. This is a couple of pieces of vinyl from my old collection, and here's where I've written many years ago the BPM and the key information for these tunes. And the way we had to work out musical key back then for our music was to use a piano keyboard and sit there and laboriously work out, using a bit of musical theory, what key that music was in. Why did we go to that length? Because we could then mix in key. Now, thankfully, getting started with key mixing, which is one of the best ways of making musical mixes sound really tight and really professional, is now a lot easier because your DJ software can analyze that music for you and tell you the musical key, and the rules are very, very simple as to which tunes mix into which other tunes. In fact, you don't need any musical theory at all to get started in this stuff, and the results can be absolutely brilliant. I guarantee you that when you hear mixtapes made by your DJing heroes, or when you go to a gig where the guy's getting paid a lot of money for DJing, he has done a lot of key mixing work on that set. So to get started, analyze your tunes in your DJ software. It's really simple. Hit the key lock or the master tempo button on your DJ controller or on your CDJs if you're using those to lock the tempo where it should be, and just practice. My only caveat here would be to say trust your ears, because sometimes the software gets it wrong, and also just because something's in key doesn't mean it necessarily is going to mix well. You know, it's a tool, not a rule. But I thoroughly recommend you get started with key mixing right away because it's there in your software anyway. So why not? It's dead simple to have a go. So another way of wording this one would be DJs who only play for themselves quite often only end up playing to themselves, whether it's to an empty dance floor or a podcast that no one's listening to or something that's been shared that no one's reacting or liking. You know, the point is, if you're only thinking of yourself, you're only doing half the job. And it's easy for me to show you this on a diagram. This one, by the way, is absolutely essential if you're trying to hold down a residency. And remember, residencies are where you get paid. Week in, week out, same night, pay packet. So this is really, really vital stuff. This is you. This is your music collection. And the other side is your audience and their expectations, the music they want. And this bit in the middle here is the bit you're aiming at. This is the sweet spot. This is where your music collection overlaps what the audience is expecting, what's going to make them happy, what's going to give them the night out that they remember. Now, if you're not suited to the night you're playing at, then these circles could be so far apart there's no overlap. You know, you shouldn't be DJing those nights. But assuming you're somewhere that's there or thereabouts for the style of music you like and for where you're coming from, there will be an overlap here. And your job as a DJ is to discover that overlap. And you discover that by carefully thinking about your music, programming it, and learning week in, week out. But that's only part of the picture. Because of course, there are tunes that you just know your audience is going to love, that you haven't played to them, and so they don't know, so they don't appear in this section yet. So what do you do about those tunes? Well, there's like an 80-20 rule here. If you can play tunes from here 80% of the time, that leaves you 20% to experiment and to play other stuff. So there's going to be stuff that's moving in here that's new, or just kind of old stuff that they don't know, that you're testing. And some of them will stay there and some of them you won't play again. That's absolutely fine. But it's a two-way thing. There's going to be stuff your audience is asking you for, requests, in other words, that you don't have and don't want to play. If you're going to do this, you ought to be doing this as well. And how do you do it without turning into a jukebox? Well, you do it by listening to what they want and damn well going away and finding versions of the music they're asking for that you do like and that you can play, and at least giving it a listen and making a decision on it. Because for every new tune you introduce to them, why not learn from them and bring more stuff into this middle section? If you're in a resident situation playing every week, this section here is going to be really fueled by these two things, and it'll develop and it'll become something that people are telling their friends about and coming back to. And then of course the manager, the person who pays your wages, well, he or she's going to be happy as well, and you're going to keep that job. So what does this mean? It means if it sounds good to you, it is. Or more importantly, if it sounds ropey to you, it is. This is stuff that pro DJs trust their own instincts about, and you need to learn to trust your own instincts about it as well, because the decisions you make when you're DJing are going to be based on what your ears are telling you. Now the good news is that if you're the kind of person who spots a ropey mix when you're out clubbing with your friends, when everyone else is like, sounded alright to me, don't know what you're talking about, then you've already got this in you. If you're the kind of person who, when you're out at a restaurant, you know, spots the CD going on loop or skipping, and your friends are just busy, you know, yapping away to each other, and they don't spot it, if you're the one who spots that first, you've already got this in you. I'll bet that you set your music up before you get your toothbrush out when you move house. You know, you have to trust me here. You've got the musical passion. You're still watching these videos. I know you've got the passion. So all you need now is to believe that, not have a confidence crisis when it comes to your DJing, and trust your instincts and follow a structured training program to get from where you are to where you want to be. It's following the right steps to improve, which we've outlined in these points for you, that's going to get you there. What's not going to get you there is starting to doubt your own abilities and starting to think that there's something missing, because I'm promising you that it is in you. There's nothing missing. You just need to do the right things to get to the next level. You know, we've really enjoyed bringing you these free videos. We're nearly at the end now, so it's just my chance to say thank you very much to all of you for watching, but especially to everyone who's liked and shared and commented. It means an awful lot to us, not just to me, but to the rest of the team who've worked so hard here at Digital DJ Tips to bring us all this great stuff. Now, actually, on that point, I just want to talk a little bit about what it takes to go from where you are now to pro DJ, because, you know, great though this course hopefully has been for you, in this amount of time we can't give you everything you need to make that leap and to successfully take yourself to where you want to be in your DJing. And that's why I'm really excited today to announce the return of Digital DJ Masterclass, our biggest, deepest dive and best quality DJ training ever. Now, those of you who are regulars at Digital DJ Tips will know that this course comes around just once a year, and we open it to a very limited number of students before we close it off until the next year. So this is a really special opportunity you have here. I'm going to tell you more about the course and give you all the information you need to make a decision on whether you want to join us in that training in just a couple of days' time. So this is just to let you know that's coming and to tell you to keep an eye on your inbox for that. And of course, if you're not already signed up, sign up now so that you don't miss out. Okay, so I look forward to seeing you in the next video in just a couple of days' time.